what, 64 followers?
Yep.
All right, man. Ay, ay, ay.
This is the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral.com.
Good morning, Tuscaloosa. Good morning, Tuscaloosa. Internet world, West Alabama. How are we doing today on a Tuesday? It's the last day of the month of March. Getting excited as we're turning the calendar over into spring football officially. That's what we're going to do today on the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral, BamaCentral.com. You guys are watching us on the BamaCentral YouTube channel, Facebook page, or listening to us on Apple Podcast, Amazon, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. You can get the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral. Go ahead and hit that subscribe, rate, review, follow, all that good stuff on your favorite platform. The program, we're broadcasting live in the Derek Daniel State Farm Studios right here off of McFarland Boulevard. Call Derek for all of your insurance needs at 205-758-3391. Like a good neighbor, Derek Daniel is there. We're going to talk spring football today. Win totals, SEC win totals. We are now 3 weeks, well, really 2 weeks because we skipped spring break week. We're 2 weeks into spring camp, so the boys are almost to A-Day. Had a bit of a scrimmage on Friday and got back after it to start this week. So we are almost halfway through spring camp, and we need to really dive in and talk about what we've heard so far. So that's what we're going to do today. We invite you to jump in and join us at Joe Gaither 6, at BamaCentral, at Theo Fernandez _. We are proudly presented by Purple Turtle Roofing as well. So visit Purple Turtle Roofing at roofturtle.com for all of your roofing needs. It doesn't matter if you're in a house or business, residential, commercial. You can find Purple Turtle Roofing at roofturtle.com, and they will take care of you. So with all that, good morning, Theo. How you doing today, sir?
Doing great. Great day out. Great day to talk sports.
Absolutely. Beautiful day out in Tuscaloosa in West Alabama. Hope everybody is staying well and having a great Tuesday. Theo, before we get going, you said that you were, before we started, you said you're 64, 65, 66 followers away from 1,000 on the Twitter machine, on the old X.com. So everybody should follow Theo at Theo Fernandez _. He retweets the show every day. He's covering baseball all the time. But really, in your own words, why should they follow you? Why should anybody be following any of us?
I think about that a lot. I think about the idea that someone wakes up in the morning and thinks, oh, I want to know what's happening with Alabama sports. And like, I'm the one who tells them that sometimes. And that still doesn't sit right with me. But I am covering sports, and I believe I'm doing it at a level that is starting to generate some interest. I just talked about Daniel Hill and his squatting 805 pounds. I think I understand what I'm doing with social media. And I think when you follow me, you're getting the coverage. You're getting the personality. You're also getting it presented in a way that is very palatable for social media, right? I understand some reporters may not quite get, like, what are we doing? How do we present this? Do we make this like watchable for social media? I've got that. And my editing, I'm going to Fox Sports to edit over the summer. My editing is going to get really top notch. I'm going to be turning out some really high level edits, high level content. You guys are buying while the stock is low, so that you're there when the stock is high. So please follow, support. And I also have got to pass Henry Sklar. Me and him are on a race on the Twitter machine, the intern rivalry. Iron sharpens iron. So please support me in that endeavor.
Well, Henry's already to 1,000, right?
Well, the race to 2,000.
That's fine. That's fine. I'm just
Henry won the race to 1,000.
Okay.
A long head start.
Do I need to give him the seat until you can repass him?
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, you're here working with the least followed person at BamaCentral.
Oh, we can't be having that. Make sure everybody follows Theo at Theo Fernandez _. Get his followers up. And you retweeted this video last night of Jackson Richardson, right?
Yes.
Woo! Mercy. I know we're going to talk about spring football today, and that's going to pretty much be the lion's share of the discussion. But last night, if you weren't watching it because you are basketballed out or you're done with basketball after Friday night, we understand that. But 2026 Sprite Jam Fest Dunk Contest champion Jackson Richardson is committed to Alabama. And last night, his winning dunk jumped over five bodies standing in the lane, and he basically straddled five heads as he's skying to the rim and throws it. Little bit of a cheater, just pushing off the first guy's shoulders to get up over everybody, huh?
Yes, but when you watch the NBA dunk contest, they'll jump over one guy and push off him. This was more impressive than anything we saw a month ago in the NBA dunk contest. I mean, it was a genuinely impressive dunk. There's not much that impresses me as far as dunks go. That is a nice performance right there. And I'm excited about Richardson.
Ooh, that last step is right on the free throw line.
Yeah.
That's probably the most impressive part. The last step is on the free throw line.
He can move, man. He can fly. And Ronald McDonald was one of the people we dunked over too. I'm excited for Richardson. I think we got to do a basketball, a talk one day about these freshmen where we go more in depth. Maybe once some of the dust settles from the transfer portal.
Right. We got to figure out what the roster looks like and roles, what they're going to be asked to do, that sort of thing.
But there's a lot to be excited about with Richardson. And he
committed to it. That's what I like the most about it. He committed to it. Some guys bail out of the dunk early. He was maybe a little too far away and stretched and found the ball in the hole and committed to it to such a degree that landing was pretty ugly because he committed that to that level. Hey Jackson, you bring that commitment to Tuscaloosa when you are attacking the basket, and everybody's going to love you.
Yeah, no, Richardson, and he was playing in the McDonald's All-American, the scrimmage. And he was just making an impact on both ends of the floor. And this is this game tonight? Yeah, the game is tonight at 9.
There's a couple Bama guys in it, right? There's two. It's Jackson Richardson and the other. Is it Caden Samuels?
I'm pretty sure it is Samuels who is playing.
Good morning, Miss Nancy. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for watching us on the Facebook machine.
No, I don't know that Samuels is playing. He's not on this roster.
Call me fake news. I just made it up.
Now, I will say, I'm going to be watching this game. I think it'll be fun. It'll start right around the time baseball ends. And Richardson going head-to-head against Caleb Holt. That'll be a fun one.
Oh, boo on you, Caleb Holt. Then let's go, Richardson. We'll see what he can do tonight as that gets going. It looks like at 6 o'clock. Well, that's Monday. Today's Tuesday. Yeah. Looks like at 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock is the girls, 8 o'clock is the guys, both on ESPN. McDonald's All-American girls game and the guys game at 6 and at 8 o'clock on ESPN. So we will see what happens right there. Yeah, Jackson Richardson. Are you sure that there wasn't another? No, I thought Caden Samuels was on this list, but he is not. That's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. So you'll be able to watch Jackson Richardson tonight. All right, so let's get into some football here because wanted to plug your Twitter, wanted to talk about a wild dunk from an Alabama commit. But let's get into football because as we said, you're 7 days into spring practice. Let's see. Let's count them actually. You've had practice 1, 2, 3, 4 days. 5 days, 6 days. So that was a pro day. 6, 7, 8. You're at 8 practices in today. Yesterday was 8 practices. We talked to Daniel Hill and we talked to Keon Sabb yesterday. You can see that on the Bama Central YouTube channel. Personally thought Daniel Hill was more revealing, was more riveting than Keon Sabb. But Keon Sabb basically excited to play with his brother, excited to come back, trying to win a national championship. Everything you would expect. Great. Daniel Hill, I've lost 10 pounds, 8 to 10 pounds. I'm working on my diet, working on my conditioning, working on my pass protection. All the running backs are good. All the offensive line is good. We're excited. Rada, roll tide. Both the quarterbacks are really good. Awesome. All right. So he lost 8 pounds in the last spring. Said he cut out cookies. Said cutting out cookies was the hardest part. Theo, what's the number one downfall with your diet right now?
Well,
What's the hardest thing that you would have if I said you've got to lose weight and you've got to go Spartan mode? What's the hardest thing for you to give up?
it's been the biggest problem for me has been the free popcorn that's given out at the baseball games. Because I'm great. I've stopped buying any kind of junk food. I'm dialed in at home, and then I'll go to baseball, and it's like, well, I'm here for 9 innings. And they have just the perfect, like the best stadium buttery popcorn. I love Sewell Thomas Stadium's popcorn, and I can't stop eating it. So that's really giving me fits right now.
Dum, 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 dum. Dun, dun, dun. You hear the organ going, you just got to have some popcorn.
It's fitting, man. You can't do without it. So I limit myself to one thing now, but then I usually end up having 2.
Oh, no. Well, you got to get on that Daniel Hill discipline diet.
And honey buns have never been a problem for Daniel Hill.
Well, okay. Did you realize? Did you realize why Hunter asked that? I
didn't get the reference.
I totally love you, Hunter, because Hunter asked him. We asked him what his downfall is, what his hardest thing to give up was, what he had to give up, and he was like, I don't know, cookies, and like very generic answer. But look, I love all cookies. I love chocolate chip. I love oatmeal raisin. I love peanut butter. I love sugar cookies. If it is if it is round shaped and sweet, I am a big fan of it. So all cookies, I'm with you, Daniel Hill. But Hunter Brantley went in and was, what about honey buns? And Daniel Hill, oh no, I never liked honey buns. Well, there was a running back at Alabama who lost some weight, who said, I'm working on my explosion, working on my long distance speed. I gave up honey buns this offseason. Do you know which running back that was? You'll laugh if you don't get it, and then I tell you, you'll laugh.
No, I don't have it.
It's Damian Harris. Damian Harris, Mr. Honeybun, between his junior and senior year, said he gave up honey buns so that he could have, because his problem was long distance explosion. He never had he hardly had explosive runs that resulted 40 yard touchdowns, because he couldn't leave the defense behind. He could get through the hole pretty well, but his long range speed was lacking a bit, and thought that if he lost some weight, he could increase his long range speed, increase his explosion, his stamina, and get to the goal line on some of these longer runs. Because it used to be the old Alabama offensive line used to open up holes to where the running back would get 6 yards before he's getting touched, and you just needed to put your head down and be a sprinter. That's not really the case anymore, though.
That's a good reference then, by Hunter.
Yeah, when he's good. I don't know that. I bet you 4 people there caught it and understood what he was where he was going. Daniel Hill surely didn't. It goes, no, I've never liked honey buns, but I'm 95% sure that's where he was going in his head. So Daniel Hill lost some weight. We excited about it. I mean, the running game as a whole has to improve. That's the number one. Hey, where you got to get better as a team. The running game has to improve. The offensive line has been absolutely booty cheeks last year. Not so good really the last 2 years, in my opinion. Well, since Bryce's Heisman year, not really been great, opening up holes in the running game. Obviously, you can condemn the skill and talent in the running back room over the last handful of years. I do think that skill and talent is better right now, but I don't know, Theo. What do you mean? I mean, everything is under the microscope, including Daniel Hill's weight.
Everything should be under the microscope, right? That's exactly how it should be with the way things have gone. And I'm pretty high on him. I do think that this very likely could be the year that Daniel Hill does ascend into Danny Mountain, right? And does give you these big time plays, because I was impressed relatively with what he did. I think I didn't know what I expected from him a year ago.
I'll tell you this. I looked up his stats yesterday from last year, and they were even worse than I imagined. How as Alabama's second leading rusher last year, go ahead and give a guess. How many yards did he rush for? Remember, he was number 2 on the team.
390.
Oh, see, like that. When I was typing it in, writing my article about his weight loss, I thought, okay, right about 420, somewhere in that range, and a couple touchdowns. 284. 284 yards was Alabama's second leading rusher. Now, he had himself 6 touchdowns. He was goal line monster. Good for you. And he did contribute 200 yards in the passing game. He caught 28 passes for 203 yards. So 487 yards from scrimmage from Daniel Hill. Underwhelming.
What was the yards per carry?
3.8.
3 point.
Which is okay. It's
okay. It's serviceable.
Right.
And that, like, honestly, it's weird because I look at this running room and it's like, in an ideal world, Daniel Hill is your RB2, right?
Yes.
Because you're hoping that AK Deer, a guy who has a much higher ceiling, in my opinion, and I think most people would agree with that, or even Crowell, which I think that's increasingly unlikely, right, with how little he's played this spring. And it doesn't sound like what he's banged up with will affect him long term. DeBoer said week to week, but it definitely affects the way that he gets involved right now. In an ideal world, AK Deer is the feature back on this offense.
Runs like a deer.
Runs like a deer. It should not. I do not think it should be a 1A, 1B situation. But I think that Daniel Hill should, as the clear number 2 back, do things for you that he was not doing last year. And I think it sounds like he's taken the steps, right? You know, he's gotten called out for no way this guy actually squatted 805 pounds. But I was looking into it. Like, even if you do just like a half squat or a quarter squat, the testament to the strength is just your leg's ability to hold up with that much weight. It's impressive no matter how you slice. Like, this guy objectively strong. And if we're faster, if we've shed off the weight, and if we've made, because it really does not take a lot of weight to make a big difference, right? Any change at this level could lead to, yeah, wow, this guy's faster. He has a little extra that he didn't have a year ago. I'm expecting a step forward for Daniel Hill, but I am expecting him in the RB2 role. I think the problem comes in, I think where you'll get underwhelmed by Daniel Hill is if you don't have a feature back above him. If you're expecting him to do RB1 things, you're probably going to be left a little dissatisfied. That's not even a knock against Daniel Hill. That's just, this is how this team needs to be.
I think if you put 800 pounds on a bar and told me to just hold it up, I think I would crumble. I think not even trying to squat, just standing straight up, you got to hold 800 pounds on your shoulder. I think I would crumble. I think my body would disintegrate underneath the weight. So that's obviously very impressive for Daniel Hill. But I think that's a good take. I think your position is a strong position right there. Because I do think he is a solid B+, A- type player. And you can definitely use a B+, A- type player, especially with his physicality in short yardage situations, and in select situations. But you do want a supreme AK Deer, EJ Crowell type running back to emerge and be better than when was the last dynamic running back that you had for the University of Alabama? I mean, I love it, Brian Robinson, but it wasn't Brian Robinson, and he was the last one to go over 1,000 for Alabama. How much further back do you have to go? Do you have to go back to Brian Robinson was 21? Do you have to go back to 20? 20 was Brian Robinson, and 20 was Najee Harris. Okay. And then 21 was Jahmyr Gibbs. Okay, Jahmyr Gibbs is probably your last real good answer here. Still, you've got it's been how many years since now Jahmyr's been amazing in the NFL, but like,
did Gibbs clear 1,000 yards?
No.
I was gonna say, because it was Brian, right, who hit 1,000 yards that year. Yeah,
that was Gibbs hit 926. Robinson was already gone. Gibbs hit 926. McClellan hit 655. This is in 2022.
Oh, okay.
So really, it's Gibbs is probably your last real premier runner that you had. So that's been 3 years now.
It's been 3 years, right? Because, 23 was McClellan as the leading back.
And then Jam last year was not so. I'm going to be really interested to see where Jam gets drafted, because his testing numbers were really, really good, but his play and tape just was very meh, very average this year. And obviously the offensive line had a lot to do with that. You're getting hit in the backfield a ton. You're not getting a chance to get out and run. I'll be very interested to see how the NFL actually evaluates him in a couple of weeks. But point being, you haven't had a top-end type running back in 3 years. And I think that if you want to improve the running game, the easiest way to do, I mean, obviously the offensive line, we could talk about that all day long, but the easiest way is to go out and procure elite talent for the running back room. I think you've done that with A.K. Deer and E.J. Crowell, and I think Daniel Hill is a nice B-plus level player that can give you well, if these guys just can't quite get it, Daniel Hill can at least power his way through for 3 to 5 yards.
No, I don't disagree with that at all. I guess, and we didn't really get a clear picture of the other guys at all from what Daniel Hill said, and nor should we have, I guess, expected.
Oh, they're all good. They're all working hard. Yeah. All my teammates are good. Running back room is strong. We're all fast.
Never going to get more than that.
Right. So let's get a little bit larger topic from not just yesterday, but the last couple of weeks. Where is my tab? Right, that's the one I want. I want to talk about win totals because I was talking last week in Chicago about this Alabama football team and about where they're standing this coming year and where all kinds of expectations. You look at FanDuel. That's an easy place to start. FanDuel on the 13th of the month, so about 2 weeks ago, right before spring camp got started, put out win totals for all 16 SEC teams. How many do you think they gave Alabama? Now, it's on the half number because they want you to bet over or under, but just perception. How much do you think they gave Alabama?
10.5.
10.5. Oh, man, Theo, you love the Tide. You can bet that 10.5 if you want because the number is actually 8.5. So if you want to bet on Alabama having 9 wins next year, you can be a winner.
This includes postseason.
95% sure it does. Here are the college football win totals for 16 SEC teams. Yeah, I'm 95% sure. Notre Dame and Texas Tech have the highest at 11.5. FanDuel had 3 Power 4 teams to win 10.5 games. Miami, Oregon, and Indiana. Yeah, those are 10.5. But the highest are Texas Tech and Notre Dame at 11.5. Georgia and Texas lead the SEC with 9.5. Now remember, we're adding another conference game. That's next year.
Yeah, no, that's just this we're playing 9 games this fall.
Right. So you're adding the extra game. And so the highest SEC total is Texas and Georgia at 9.5. You've got Alabama, A&M, and LSU sitting there tied at 8.5 in the next tier. And all the way down, the lowest is Arkansas and Mississippi State at 4.5. Now, 8.5. How do you feel about that? Because look at the schedule and tell me there's not 9 wins.
Right? Like Alabama team.
9-4 is what you're looking at right here.
Yeah, 8.5. I don't say free money a lot.
You're smoking East Carolina right off the start, right? You're going to Kentucky, and that's going to be a little bit of a small hiccup, but it's going to be one of those struggle wins where Alabama emerges in the fourth quarter. And you have Florida State back here in town, and you are trying to get revenge. That's going to be a huge, highly contested game. You're going to be Bryant-Denny Stadium is going to be hot that day to get a win. And then you got South Carolina coming back to town. Now South Carolina bringing back Lenoris and Dylan Stewart. They've got themselves a little squad. They're going to give you a good game. But by this point, you've got 3 games under your belt, and you're playing at home. That should be a win as well. You're at Mississippi State next, and that should be an absolute barn burning out over there in Starkville. Then you bring Georgia in. Okay, Georgia can beat you. Great, I'll give you that. Then you go to Tennessee. Tennessee can beat you. I'll give you that too. Then you got Texas A&M coming here. You're welcoming back Wilkin Formby and Isaiah Horton and Marcel Reed, who I think is extremely overrated. I think he's a good player, but extremely overrated. Won't win in Bryant-Denny Stadium type player. You're at 6 wins with A&M. You're off, and then you go to LSU first Saturday night in November, just like you always do. Lane Train in Baton Rouge. You're going to take an L. That's 3. You're at Vanderbilt. You're going to get a win. That's 7. You got Chattanooga at home is 8, and you've got Auburn at home is 9. You're smacking Alex Golesh in his first year. That's 9 wins right there. If you lose the 2 hardest road games and the hardest home game.
I do think that this team will win 9 games.
That's 9-3 right there.
That's 9-3. All right, first, would you be happy with that season? Should fans be happy with that?
Would I be happy with that season? Yes. Will fans? No.
Yeah, fans won't.
Should they be happy with it? Yes, they should.
That season puts you in line for a playoff spot.
That puts you in the 11 to 16 range. You're going to have to be depending on some help. You're going to be depending on a lot of help. But the issue with the schedule that I just laid out there is there's no real marquee wins. Your best win right there is against A&M. Your best win is against A&M. Your best win depends on how Florida State does, would be Florida State. And that resume probably doesn't put you in as an at-large. Last year's resume, you had gone to Athens and beaten the number 1 team in the country. That really helps you. 9-3, that 9-3 that I just outlined puts you at about 17, 18 is what, and you're left out of the playoff.
Like, I'm not happy with that 9-3 at all. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's no way. I look at this and inexcusable to not start 5-0. Inexcusable.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 5-0. I'm with you there.
I will say,
we're with you.
It's very fortunate that this team gets to play South Carolina in September.
Oh yeah,
and not later in the season. When they have to turn things around, right?
Shane Beamer's job on the line. We got to win some games. We got to play close. Yeah,
still in the point of the season where they're losing games. I just look at Georgia, Tennessee, A&M, LSU. And I'll throw at Vandy in there. I will throw at Vanderbilt in there.
Nah, we're smoking Jared Curtis in his first year.
I look at that.
Jared Curtis, Cole Adams. Cole Adams upsets the tide.
It could be that could be a crazy result. I also A&M is a team that I think is going to be very good. I think Marcel Reed was overrated.
Still is.
You can't say that. You haven't seen what he's going to look like in the fall.
I saw him in his last game not score a single point at home.
And what do you think?
Not score a single touchdown at home.
Who already was playing high-level football and has been through a full season at that level can absolutely take the jump to being a Heisman-level player.
Sure, because Heisman is about marketing and name and production.
All-American level player. He can be one of the best QBs in the country this season. I'm not saying that
he's just the type of player that's always due to give you a bonehead decision at any time.
How do you say that?
How do you say that? Well, I watch him turn the ball over against Miami.
That's what he did last year. In
a clean slate.
He was less than a year and a half into being a starter.
So clean slate.
Clean slate, but you also build off of everything you did last year, and you have a team that. Look at the money they gave Wilkin for me, right? You have a team that is trying to.
Is that money wisely spent?
Watch Wilkin for me just be an absolute rock for this.
He's going to be incredible.
Yeah, he will be.
He's going to be incredible. He's going to be a first-round pick, and Tuscaloosa is going to go burn it, going to light itself on fire.
Will Taco Casa display an A&M logo that week?
Ooh, they got a lot of what you like. They just need to put Gig'em on all the video boards.
What if they put like it?
Gig'em, we love you, Wilkin.
In like the food boxes, like just a little A&M thing. People would protest. Regardless, I think A&M will be a very good football team.
Sure.
I just think that 5-game stretch, I think
that's hard.
I think you are happy if you go 3-2 in that stretch. And you have to take care of business elsewhere. You do.
You really got to get one. You really got to get some of these wins right here in this middle 4 games of Georgia, Tennessee, A&M, and LSU. You can't go 1-3 in those 4 games.
You're foolish for not throwing Vanderbilt in that mix. Yeah, Vanderbilt should be included in. It should be a 5-game stretch and not a 4-game stretch.
I think Vanderbilt is a quality program, but beating Vanderbilt really still does nothing for you on your resume.
You have no clue what this Vanderbilt team is going to look like. And you also...
I know that they're not going to have an experienced quarterback. Quarterback's going to make... I like Jerry Curtis a lot, but he's going to make some mistakes.
He's also going to make some big-time plays because he is a guy who is going to be a big-time player. I look at this Vanderbilt team and this program that has been overlooked by a lot of people, right? And we saw them take a lot of people by surprise in 2025. And I also look at that coming off the heels of LSU. I think after the LSU game, you are going to know exactly where you stand entering the last month of the season.
Oh, sure.
Right? And you're going to come into this Vanderbilt game knowing that it's your last real football game of the year, right? Because you play Chattanooga and you play Auburn, which is the Iron Bowl.
Hey, man, Byron Brown, he can play.
I don't mean real as far as not a real opponent. I mean as far as it's the Iron Bowl. It's a different thing. That Vanderbilt game is going to be, close to a trap game. We don't know what Vanderbilt will look like. Jared Curtis could go out and be a great freshman quarterback. He has that kind of potential. And I trust that Clark Lee has built up another very, very capable football team. That is a 5-game stretch. You do not leave Vanderbilt out of that.
Well, you may as well say 6 then, because Mississippi State's going to be better. Come on. In no world. I know that you're sitting here with haunted memories of going to Nashville 2 years ago.
It's not even tied into that.
And thinking there's no way you should lose, and then being drug into a deep water game against Vanderbilt and losing. But
I don't think you're giving Vanderbilt enough credit for the football team that it can be in 2026.
I think they can be good.
I think they can be a top 25 football team.
Sure. They're not going to be as good as they were this year.
They are going to be a football team that can beat just about anyone in the SEC on any given Sunday without it being considered a massive upset.
Oh, that's fair too. I just think that if you are Alabama and you are at the quality that you expect to be going into Vanderbilt, you should take care of business. You should be a 12 to 13 point favorite, and you should win by anywhere between 10 to 17.
I would say the same thing for Tennessee.
Tennessee's a lot more dangerous. They're a lot more dangerous.
As far as quality of football team or as far as going into Knoxville?
Both. Going into Knoxville, just make both football teams, both the opponents extremely average. If you have to go into Knoxville or go into Nashville, I would much rather go into Nashville because that place is hell in Knoxville.
No, I agree with that.
And so Tennessee, better talent and a better home field advantage becomes more dangerous than Vanderbilt.
I think this Vanderbilt team is going to be a better team than Tennessee this year. I think this Vanderbilt team is going to win a lot of games and challenge a lot of teams, especially an Alabama team coming off the heels of a trip to Baton Rouge with green grass ahead of you, very likely, right? If you've taken care of business. Otherwise, it's wow, the season is basically over right now. Regardless, I think this Vanderbilt game is going to be dangerous. And I think, if you start anything less than 5-0, your playoff hopes are basically dashed, frankly.
I agree with that. I certainly agree with that. Because the problem is there's not a whole, you only have a few opportunities at marquee wins.
You have four, possibly 5 right in front of you, right there.
Yeah, I think you have 2. When you think about college football playoff committee and at-large debates and stuff, if you're sitting there 9-3, and that's kind of where this whole conversation is built sitting. If you're sitting there 9-3, you've got to have one of these wins. Has to be a top five Georgia. It has to be a top 15 type LSU. Like you're talking about Vanderbilt. Yeah, it'll be a dramatic game, but the commit, they won't care about that. The average college football fan won't consider beating number 24 Vandy by 10 on the road. Oh man, that's a big resume booster. Like you and I will respect it for sure, but the average college football fan will be like, well, you should have beat Vandy. Vandy's Vandy, and you're going to have detractions. Your biggest wins, you're going to have to win in Knoxville in dramatic fashion. A ranked Tennessee team would be a nice marquee win. Like if your 9-3 comes up you beat all the bad teams for your 9, and your one of your wins is A&M. Great. You beat A&M at home. You lost the 3 big games: Georgia, Tennessee, and LSU. You're out of the playoff. You're sitting at 15. You're out of the playoff, and everybody's got pitchforks and torches.
No, I don't disagree with that. I don't think this is a 9-3 football team. I think you're coming in thinking you can win 10 of these games. Right? Like, I mean, the expectation, and that's why I talked about the importance of no funny business, take care of things first 5 weeks, and then obviously Vanderbilt or Chattanooga, Auburn at the end. And that's why I say we have this 5-game stretch where you just have to go 3-2. You can afford, like, I think Georgia, LSU, you lose those 2, right? And if you go the world where you don't have that big marquee win, well, you've still won 10 games. You've set yourself up.
Yeah, if your 2 losses on the season are just Georgia and LSU at LSU, you're probably feeling pretty good about yourself at 10-2.
But why I point to that 5-game stretch is because I think that is the 5-game stretch of the season where the results are the most ambiguous, where I feel very uncertain about picking either team to win that game. Right? I mean, you see what happens when Georgia comes into Tuscaloosa. You see what happens when Alabama goes to Knoxville. I think A&M will be a much improved team. I think they will be a very, very capable team. I think they will be in the college football playoff. I think that will be a marquee matchup. Maybe I'm too high on A&M, but that is where I sit with this Mike Elko program that is playing phenomenal program football right now and has a
defense
QB,
is really, really
will
good.
Take a jump.
Yeah, defense is still really, like, their defense is still really, really good.
And then LSU, I don't think I need to speak to why I think LSU will be a top team, right? Which obviously that season could go very underwhelming, right?
I think they're gonna be right there at 9, and I think they're gonna have a 9, 8, 9, 10 win season as well.
I agree with you there. And then I think Vanderbilt is a wild card right now. It's
Definitely
hard to forecast it. What are we? We're about to be 7 months from the season, or 7 months from that November matchup. But I think that's one that I would lump in with them.
No, that is one I'm really intrigued about. But Alabama, I'm sitting here at the last day of March thinking that Alabama should handle their business in Nashville. I do think it's intriguing because I think Jerry Curtis is such a exciting prospect. So exciting. I want to ask you this. What do you think the impact of last year's games has on these games? Because go back through these return games, these revenge games, if you will, are all pretty interesting. You got Florida State returning to Tuscaloosa. We all remember you went down there and fell on your face. You've got South Carolina coming to Tuscaloosa. The last 2 years, you've had really dramatic games with South Carolina, especially last year, the huge comeback. And they're going to be wanting a revenge factor. The Georgia series last year, setting up this year's game, winning in Athens, and then getting absolutely your doors blown off in Atlanta. Like, how do these we'll just take those first 3, these return games impact this year's matchup? Because will that Florida State game just generate a whole lot of rah, 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 we want revenge? Or is it going to be, well, we're trepidation, they're going to draft? I mean, Gus Malzahn not going to be there anymore. You got a different offensive coordinator, new offense, a new offensive system, probably going to be a lot of similarities. But Ashton Daniels played pretty well for Auburn in that Iron Bowl. Like, you got a lot of elements in these first 3 return games. We'll get to Tennessee, we'll get to LSU, Vandy, and Auburn here in just a minute. But these first 3, I think, are really, really juicy storylines in the Florida State, South Carolina, and Georgia matchups.
I think FSU will be purely external, obviously. But then again, like, it feels like forever ago, man. That felt like a different football team, obviously, than the rest of the season. And I also think Florida State's fans kind of were knocked down so much after that. I think it'll be a fun fan atmosphere. I think it'll be a fun fan Alabama FSU going back and forth leading into the game, especially if FSU, I don't know who their first 2 games are, but if they've taken care of business and they're 2-0 as well.
They've got funny first games, I think. FSU.
That wouldn't surprise me. I wouldn't expect them to play more than one big non-conference.
They have Internet. They have New Mexico State and a conference game, SMU, but then they get a bye week before Alabama.
So especially, if FSU is sitting there and they've just taken care of business against SMU, right? It could be a fun one. I don't think any of that will be internal just because the cast of characters are all gone from that game.
How many times is Bray Hubbard going to get asked about that? Bray, were you actually sick? Did you have the flu? Did you have mono down there in Tallahassee?
Someone will get to write a nice little like Bray Hubbard motivated piece, and that'll be the biggest story from that game. South Carolina, yeah. I mean, I'm a little scarred still from sitting there at 11 a.m. watching Alabama play just awful football that I didn't want to be there for last year.
2 years
ago, and then being there in South Carolina a year ago in the fall. And
sandstorm counter. And I thought, no way you lose this team. And then the it starts to get deep. And the time it starts to sink away. And I'm like, what the bleep is happening with these guys? Why can't you generate any offense? And then suddenly it's like, well, we'll just take it 4-yard bites at a time. Ty Simpson, 4-yard bite. And I'm like, why aren't you doing this anyways? Yeah. Why isn't this the offense right now?
I fully thought it was going to come down to Connor Talty missing a field goal. And that was, I'm glad that was a fun game.
That was amazing. All the fans start coming down like they're about to storm it, and Jeremy Renard hits his reverse and just gives them the. Awesome. That was great. It was incredible, but way too dramatic than it needed to be. Way too dramatic than it needed to be. And I think they're going to come in here thinking the last 2 years, dang it, we let Alabama off the hook. Yeah. We let them off the hook. You're going to get the Denny Green. They are who we thought they are, and we let them off the hook. I think it's going to be a pretty dramatic game. Lenoris is still a cyborg, and Dylan Stewart is still a monster coming off the edge. I think that they are going to be Nick Harbor is still with them. He didn't go to the league. They got some talent right there.
And looking at this, they play Kent State, Towson, and Mississippi State.
Oh, they're just going to warm up. They're just revving it up, saving everything for Alabama.
The classic move for this program would be to lose to State. But no, they should, in theory, be 3-0. They need to, that should be an undefeated matchup heading in. I think there's a little bit that will play in there, but the big one is Georgia.
Yes. The last time you came here, Kirby, Alabama jumped on you 30-0 basically in the first half. It wasn't exactly 30-0. It was close. But then Carson Beck refused to die. And honestly, this may be a controversial take, but that second half Carson Beck performance is among one of the best halves of quarterback play I've seen ever. I mean, well, you got to give Xavier credit there. Yeah. Sorry, Xavier picked you off there. It was inches from a touchdown. Could have gone either way. And Xavier just made the play. And Carson Beck was so let down by his wide receivers that year. I will never forget. Arian Smith dropping a 40-yard bomb on the first play of the game, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, Georgia's dialed in right here." And then they went into the absolute shell because he dropped that ball. Anyways, dramatic game 2 years ago, and then you've got. Goes to Athens. Alabama basically jumps on front and holds on to a lead to the very end. And then you have the game in Atlanta where it seems like every psychological hold that Alabama has over Georgia was broken in a 3-hour stretch, in a 3-hour span of just the curses broken and all kinds of psychological issues. And so they're coming back to and they haven't won here since 2007, winning in overtime. How is that? Gunnar Stockton, I won it on neutral field. No Zachariah Branch, still really good defense. CJ Allen going to be gone, still a really good defense though. How does that play out? Does Georgia come to Tuscaloosa believing, oh yeah, we've got these guys now? We showed them that we are the daddies now.
I think this is a very meaningful football game.
Yeah,
this will be the 5th matchup in 4 years, right? And you have this whole thing of Alabama's just owned Georgia, and everyone talks about that. And if you lose this football game to Georgia, that goes out the window, right? You lose twice in a row. You lose 2 seasons in a row after getting massacred in the SEC championship. If you win it, you're back. It's right back to, Alabama. You've had 2 little slip-ups against Georgia this decade.
You pull up Kalen DeBoer's injury comments after the game, and you say, see, Alabama was that injured. Yeah. And that was a fluke. If Alabama was healthy, that's going to be the move.
And when you look at that game, symbolically, like if Alabama wins that football game, it is right back to the media and Alabama. The dynasty is still alive, which they throw that term around way too much with this program. But
the dynasty, I'm sorry, fellas.
The dynasty can't survive 6 years without a national championship.
The dynasty died already. Maybe we can rebirth a new one, but it's been dead.
The program is alive, and that will be the gist of what people are going to be saying if you go out and beat Georgia. And this is kind of when you look at it and when you realize, like, okay, you've had this just really weird stretch where you keep running into Georgia every year. And that, who knows what will happen in SEC championships, right? But that's probably coming to an end with, you'll be seeing them every other year, so it'll kind of die off a little bit. This is like assert the authority right here. We dominated this stretch against Georgia. That's a big one. And I think, like, Kirby obviously is affected by Alabama, right? It has, I don't mean affected like physically, but like it means something to him, that game.
The reason I know that he is because every time he gets asked about it, he goes complete robot mode of every other game, just another game. We treat it like any other game. He go like Curry kind of does that anyways, but that's his shield. That's his like, oh, I am definitely not letting you in right here. I am every other game. There's just another game, next game on the schedule. That is, you're not getting inside my soul on that question, buddy.
I think a win in Tuscaloosa would mean so much for Kirby.
He'd be walking off the field in tears.
Alabama cannot afford to let that happen. Because, hey, this is the last, like, the thing continues for at least another 4 years if you take care of him right now.
Mm-hmm.
You got to do it. I'm so glad this game is happening again this year, man. I'm really glad we're playing one more time.
I'm really glad that they adjusted the SEC schedules to where you're playing everybody in the span of a 4-year stretch twice.
Yeah.
All right, so LSU, that's going to be a little bit of like you have the next 2 return games from last year are the Tennessee and the LSU matchup. And obviously, you took care of Tennessee last year at home, but you've gone 2 years in a row of losing. 2 games in a row of losing in Knoxville in 2 different stretches, 21 and 23, right? No, 24, 22, 22 and 24, right? Years messed me up. 22 and 24.
That 24 game was so brutal, man.
Yeah, the 22 one was worse for me.
The 22 one for me, it was just sitting back and watching 2 teams play one of the best football games I've seen.
And usually. Bryce Young got crushed and never got. People complain about the Kool-Aid McKinstry pass interference, and that's, okay, fair. You can that if that's the one you're upset about, that's fine. For me, the one that I've always been upset about is Bryce Young headshot after throwing 3 steps away, balls away, headshot, and didn't get a call. That's the one for me.
Were you there for that game?
Praise the Lord. No, I wasn't. No. Every Alabama media person, fan, or football player or staff member that I've talked to has a horror story from that game. Kerry Good got beer dumped on him. ALS Kerry Good sitting in his wheelchair, not real. He's not really cheering much. He's sitting in his wheelchair watching the game. Got beer dumped on him. It wasn't like my man's sitting there yelling bleep Tennessee and middle fingers to everybody. He's sitting in a wheelchair and still beer dumped on him. Terrible.
You've got to win that football game, man. You can't go 6 years without winning in Knoxville.
Yeah, you're starting to let them believe a little bit. You're starting to let them believe.
No, they fully believe. I think.
Probably. I think at LSU is a real big problem because I don't think LSU totally quit on themselves and quit on their program last year. And I think Lane Kiffin is pretty determined to ensure that there are good results happening in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, I do too. I think that game should just be some phenomenal football. That should just be such a fun.
Is that your game you're
showcase.
most confident in Alabama losing?
Hmm.
Because to me, it's Georgia and LSU are the obvious two picks, but I think Alabama can beat Georgia at home.
Yeah.
And because I'm still like I am not a Gunner Stockton lover. I think that Gunner is a Timmy Tryhard, and I'm not really a big fan of him. I think he's a great leader and a tough guy, but I don't really think he's a great quarterback. I think that you got a really good quarterback in Sam Levitt. They went out and got like 4 quarterbacks, didn't they? They got Sam Levitt and like a couple other transfers, and I am a huge believer in Lane Kiffin. I think you could beat Georgia at home. I think it's going to be a big problem going down to LSU the first time against Lane Kiffin on the road.
I agree. If I had to pencil in a loss, it'd be that game.
Terrible, trouble. All right, and the last return, well, Vandy and Auburn are both return games, but we already talked about the Vanderbilt game a little bit. How you feel about Byron Brown, Alex Golich? There's been a lot of noise on the other side of the state about his start maybe not being as smooth and encouraging as people want. But I think he's a son of a gun. Alabama has seen 2 games against South Florida that have been much more difficult than you bargained for against Byron Brown. Now he's going to be wearing a different uniform. What do you feel about Alex Golich coming into Tuscaloosa? First Iron Bowl that you're worried about in a while, or no worries?
I don't really feel anything about that game right now. Like, that one's just too early, man. The Iron Bowl, like, I'm not worried about from a talent perspective, Alabama taking care of business. And I don't know what my potential worry would be. I don't think Auburn will be all that good. I think this football team should be in a position where, okay, it's take care of Auburn and you're probably in the playoff. My level of concern is just not there right now, if we're being honest.
All right, so take care of Auburn, and you're probably in the playoff. I agree, based on everything we've already said in the last 30 minutes or so. Different question. Take care of Auburn. Are you getting ready for another trip to Atlanta with a 10-2 season? You've lost to Georgia and LSU, or you lost to Tennessee and LSU.
Well, you're too.
It depends on the losses, but do you think that Alabama? You think because. Really and truly, the main reason that I brought this up was the FanDuel win totals. And the reason I wanted to bring it up was because of Texas and Georgia both being above Alabama in the FanDuel win totals. Will we be seeing a Texas-Georgia SEC title game?
So I think at 10-2, your 2 losses both coming in conference. And I think for most teams, I don't know who has marquee. Texas, Ohio State play again, right?
Yeah, your Texas schedule real quick is Ohio State. It's Texas State, Ohio State, UTSA. Then comes SEC play. Tennessee, Oklahoma, Florida, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Missouri, LSU, Arkansas, Texas A&M.
I'm assuming LSU plays Clemson one more time. But I can't really think off the top of my head of any other big, teams that have marquee non-conference matchups.
Right. They do not. They have Clemson, then they go Ole Miss, A&M, this is LSU. Yeah. Ole Miss, A&M, McNeese, Kentucky, Mississippi State, Auburn, Alabama, Texas, Tennessee, Arkansas.
So I think it would stand to reason that there will be a couple 2-loss SEC teams probably coming down to a tiebreaker for who goes.
Sure.
Like, you probably do have somebody who goes undefeated or has 1 loss or one team that's clearly above, and maybe you have two 1-loss SEC teams, but I think at 2 losses, it probably comes down to a tiebreaker. And again, probably a tiebreaker that you do not want to win, and you don't want to go to the SEC championship.
You do want to go.
Yeah, you do, because you've been shown that you won't be punished. You obviously do.
You want to go. You want to win the trophy.
Yes. No, I agree. It's been a while.
To the victor goes the spoils. We want the spoils.
I don't want to go 3 years without a conference title.
Georgia, real quick. Tennessee State, Western Kentucky, at Arkansas, Oklahoma, Vanderbilt, at Georgia, Auburn, bye week, Florida, at Ole Miss, Missouri, at South Carolina, and Georgia Tech. Their schedule looks pretty dadgum favorable to me.
Yeah, who knows what Georgia Tech will be.
Well, who cares about Georgia Tech in the terms of the SEC is the point.
Yeah, right, for SEC wins.
Right. Their schedule looks pretty fair. Now, Oklahoma, at Alabama, at Ole Miss, not the easiest, but the rest of their schedule looks pretty cakey. I'm going to go ahead and put Georgia in the SEC title game in pencil.
I'd agree. Texas is kind of tough.
Yeah, Texas does.
LSU has some games in there. So like, that's kind of my point. Like, I think you have a bunch of teams who probably drop 2 games, and who happens to get the tiebreaker is what it'll come down to. This 9-game schedule is going to affect a lot of things.
I love it. And that 9-game schedule is probably why these SEC win totals are 1 or 2 lower than you would traditionally expect. All right, Theo. We had a lot of fun this morning talking about some football, talking about Daniel Hill, some win totals, getting the table set for the upcoming season. You got any other thoughts today? Baseball playing, or you got any other thoughts? Warwick Wrestling, you want to tell us a Warwick Wrestling war story?
Very much do not want to talk about Warwick Wrestling. But I will say baseball going to Jacksonville State, and it's a talented Jacksonville State team. Rob Vaughn called them one of the hottest teams in the country. They're one of the best teams in Conference USA. Very much looking like they'll be in line to go to the NCAA tournament, playing a regional somewhere. It's a nice little midweek test, and you're coming off a game against an Austin Peay team that just wasn't competitive, right? And you've got a mix of your obviously midweeks, right? Where Troy and Mississippi State are always usually going to be the biggest ones you play. Jacksonville State, this year's Gamecock team, is kind of right up with them. So not right up with Southern Miss, but with Troy at least. This is a talented team that it'll be a fun watch.
There we go. And you'll be able to keep up with it by following Theo Fernandez at Theo Fernandez _. We'll see if we can't get him to 1,000 followers. 65 away.
April 24th is the target date.
We got to catch Henry Oscalar, get him 60-something followers so he can get to 1,000 followers and make himself feel real good about himself when he opens up his phone. At Theo Fernandez _, to be a part of the Theo Fernandez army. We had a lot of fun with you guys today. Leave us a voicemail if you want to talk about these win totals at 205-462-7340, extension 800. We're going to be talking more spring football the rest of the week as basketball is officially over. No portal news quite yet. The portal doesn't open to what? April 7th?
April 7th.
Right.
Yeah.
So the portal not quite open yet, but I would expect portal news over the next week or so. And we'll see how with this basketball roster, how it ends up settling out for the next season. You guys can watch Jackson Richardson tonight on ESPN. And so that'll be a lot of fun at 8 o'clock to watch the McDonald's All-American game. We will be talking more spring football. We'll be talking more baseball, basketball roster movement, maybe a NATO's contract extension coming soon.
Needs to come soon.
So we'll talk about all that and more right here on the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central, BamaCentral.com.